One of the things that we have approached at Miami Dade College is defining digital workers versus AI agents. You've got to build out this workforce. And the workforce is going to be your human workforce, and then you're going to have your digital workforce, and then you're going to have your technology workforce. There probably is a solution to be able to have humans do much more high impact work in the classroom and in our learning resource centers and in our innovation centers, and let technology solve for some of those things that can be done with a student at their own time. Students we know they access our platforms 24/7. How do we make sure they get the same support 24/7? It doesn't mean setting up 24/7 humans. Students engaged a bit longer on conversations with the digital workforce than they did with humans.
Happy Wednesday. My name is Rubén Harris. I'm here with my co-founder and co-host Timur Meyster, and this is The New Normal. The New Normal is a show where we go inside of organizations that are actually using AI in production at scale in a way that's making a meaningful impact in their organizations. This is not a show about hype. It's a show where we interview leaders who have made the decision to reimagine their organizations with AI at its core. We're in the heart of Miami. We're on the Wolfson Campus in its AI Center. I'm excited to introduce our guest. Timur, can you please introduce the guest?
Yeah, so today, Rubén and I, we're a few blocks away from Outrival's home base, and I'm super honored to welcome President Madeline Pumariega to the show. President Pumariega has a very impressive background, starting at Miami Dade College as a student athlete, serving as the chancellor of the Florida college system, and then returning to Miami Dade to lead providing opportunities and workforce development here. We're going to unpack all of that, everything that President Pumariega and her team are doing here. But first, I want to say, President Pumariega, welcome to New Normal.
Well, welcome to Miami Dade College, and I'm happy to be here with both of you.
Yeah.
For the people that don't know about Miami Dade, can you tell us a little bit about the scale, the history, who you serve?
So Miami Dade College is the largest community college in the country. It serves about 125,000 students a year.
Wow.
We have 2.5 million alumni. Most of our students are coming to campus. We have 8 campuses throughout Miami-Dade County, and we're the workforce engine for our community. And we believe that, talent is universal and opportunity is not. And at Miami-Dade College, we create opportunities for students in our community every single day.
So we're here in your AI center. I don't think a lot of schools have an AI center. Why did you choose to build an AI center here at Miami-Dade?
So when I got here as president in 2021, we really laid out how we would advance our strategic priorities at the college. One of them was artificial intelligence. In the fall of 2021, we had 500 of our faculty go through AI training. 2022, we were building out this center. By the end, early 23, we were developing a college credit certificate, an associate's in science, and a bachelor's of applied science in artificial intelligence, the first in Florida, and created a multidisciplinary approach, meaning that students just didn't come to major in AI. If you were a nursing student, you were learning about AI. If you're an education major, you're learning about the tools that can help enhance teaching and learning. If you're an engineer, you were seeing that in robotics. And so to date, we've trained 10,000 people in artificial intelligence, over 400 companies, and brought in companies into this AI center from small and mid-sized businesses in our community to think about how AI can transform their business models. And just today, we're training nonprofit leaders and their board members on how, if you're running a nonprofit and a really purposeful organization for our community, AI has to be a leverage point for you as you think about it going forward.
That's awesome.
And I love the emphasis that AI is not just about kind of the ChatGPT tool that you use. It sounds like you've led by giving your students courses that can lead to upskilling with AI, staff, faculty, and your team For our listeners who might be in a similar position, figuring out how do they prepare their institutions for AI, can you share any strategies or any advice that you have in terms of forming not just not just a deployment, but more of a how should they think about the AI as either a capability or a skill, or can I take us back to that process that you went through with your leadership team to kind of identify the areas that you're going to start on first?
So we aligned it to every one of our strategic priorities. One of our strategic priorities was reimagining the student experience. And so we knew in 2021 and going forward that education is personalized, that students want a personalized learning experience because we consume everything in a very personalized way. Whether it's Spotify, whether it's Netflix, whether it's going to the gym, everything comes to us in a fairly personalized way. And so we really wanted to make sure that we advanced that. So as we looked at the student experience, we wanted to identify any points of friction. Where did a student have friction with the institution, or where did one of our team members have friction with one of our processes? So we identified them. We kind of did an analysis on whether it was a policy, whether it was a process, whether it was a person, and then started to really look at optimizations throughout our student journey. Then we looked at academic excellence and innovation. How could we drive and make sure that we were the most innovative institution in the country and that students were coming here and learning, and not just about the foundational skills, but that they also had employability skills, those soft skills, but they also had digital skills. So when we look at it, we said our learning outcomes, everything that we do in our teaching and learning process, we got to think about students acquiring those three distinctive skill sets. AI emerged as a critical digital skill, with certainly it has, and you're seeing it today and everything that we talk about, and so did cybersecurity. And next door is our cybersecurity program. And then our next strategic priority was workforce and innovation. How do we align every program that we do with the future of work? And certainly, when you think about the future of work, AI and technology and innovation is certainly an aspect of it, and so are the human skills, are critically important. And then the last strategic priority for us was securing our future. How did the institution secure its future? And I think that leaders today have to think about securing our future in various ways. One is how we manage enrollment and what does student success look like. But it's also how do we leverage technology? It's not about the number of technology platforms. It's how can you integrate those technology platforms to loop back to the student experience and academic excellence. And that's been our roadmap at Miami Dade College.
I love those three priorities because you said there's student experience, workforce, and securing our future. And as part of securing our future is how do the leaders start using these tools to serve. So you have this skill, hundreds of thousands of students. You usually think about AI in the classroom and how with pedagogy and things like that. But how's your staff managing a lot of things? Like, what are use cases that you're seeing? How have things transitioned? Because I know there's like the internet, there's apps, there's mobile, there's cloud, but now there's these AI agents. So how are you thinking about that with your staff?
So to date now, we've had, over 1,000 employees go through AI training, both faculty and staff, and look at AI as a tool. And so a tool for what you're trying to solve for, a tool of how you can advance innovation in a quicker way. And so if you think about us and applying AI, we looked at it in three parts. One, the academic aspect of it. And so for us, our quality enhancement plan in our accreditation process is AI. So our faculty are working at authentic assessments, looking at a rubric on AI literacy and making sure students have that applied AI literacy across the discipline. operationally. How do we do it, integrating it operationally? And so that's the work that we've done without rival, is looking at, in the student services, in the student experience, could there be a digital worker that could help us advance our impact? Our impact is always the simple. It's our students. The why is our students.
Yeah.
Why we're doing this, why we may deploy a digital worker, is because we believe that we can help a student be more successful. We can make sure that that nudge at the right time leads to the payment of their courses, or leads to knowing what their academic plan might be. As part of our work on operationaling AI has been rolling out a multi-term enrollment. Our team, which we have an amazing team here at Miami Dade College of people who are always thinking and innovating, said, hey, why don't we have students enroll in multi-terms? Right? Because we have advisors assigned to students, and they've got a caseload, and they use technology and AI to help them with that caseload. So the second part was, why don't we build out multi-term enrollments?
Yeah.
And so now we've deployed multi-term enrollments where a student can see their classes for the entire year, not just semester by semester. And so I think the operationalization of that. And then I think the third is always back to our students, to our faculty and staff, that we're doing it on grounded principles. Not because it's sexy and not because everyone's doing it, because it's really purposeful.
Yeah.
It's really driven by our teams seeing its value in how we deliver, academic excellence and innovation and student success at Miami-Dade College.
Awesome. On that piece about your staff and this amazing staff, a lot of people want to do the things that you've done with AI inside the classroom. They say they're going to do it. They're not sure how to operationalize it. Can you shine light on certain members of your team and what they did and how they're working with these deployments?
One of the things that we love to say at Miami-Dade College, and I love to share with folks, is you have to be a student of your trade. And our student services teams, we've got real students of their trade. They understand student success. They understand leading with impact, and they're incredibly knowledgeable about their area of expertise. And we were able to take all of that knowledge from our team, and whether it was Jaime or Paola or Adam, and be able to take that cognitive knowledge and intelligence, that human intelligence, and put it into machine learning intelligence to drive collective intelligence, which drives collective impact.
Yeah.
Because you need the human plus skills,
Yeah.
and then you need the digital worker plus skills. If those skills and that intelligence comes together, you're really driving collective impact.
Yeah.
You're not thinking about how one replaces another, but instead you're thinking about really driving more results and having more collective impact, which is going to lead into changing a student's life
Yeah.
through the power of education.
Yeah. Let's talk about the workforce part. So when people see AI, right? Some people get excited, some people get scared. You come from the camp where you feel like it's going to create more jobs. Can you talk about that?
I really do believe that as we're building out that combination of the human plus skills and the digital work plus skills, there's going to be more to do, more to advance. We're going to be able to pivot what the future of work looks like. We're going to be able to pivot our job descriptions. They may not be caught up in the 80s. They might arrive right into the late 21st century, job descriptions, and everyone will say they're putting their job descriptions through AI, and you can advance them quickly. No, it's really about thinking about what the future of our organizations need to be, what the future of education will be, how teaching and learning will evolve. And then starting to build out that capacity now. So I think it'll be new jobs. It'll be great and exciting jobs, and there'll be some of those tasks that used to consume a job description, those tasks may be assigned to a digital worker to then free up for a new job creation that can advance our impact, drive the teaching and learning process, and most importantly, to me, is delivered the most talented workforce to our community, that we just keep driving talent. And if we do that, then we do everything we set out to be at Miami Dade College.
And it's certainly been impressive, like, just seeing the dedication and emphasis on the student experience, on the student journey by your team. When it comes to kind of preparing the organization to even start, like, do you have any advice on should other leaders think about starting in the classroom, on the operations side, on the courses themselves? Like, are there specific areas that you would recommend other leaders like kind of do first before they embark on kind of phase 2 of this kind of AI transformation?
Teaching and learning. I think that we're in the business of knowledge, right? And so we provide the foundational knowledge and those skills that are necessary to be successful, whether you're at Miami-Dade College and you're headed off to one of our universities in the state of Florida, which is #1 in education, because we've got such strong partnerships between our colleges and our universities, or whether you head off to one of our nation's best universities, or whether you go right to work here. So I believe, and it's where we started, which is in the teaching learning, and we started with our faculty, and we provided grant dollars to our faculty. In 2022, we put out a grant program where faculty could write a grant and receive up to $10,000 in funding for tools that they could utilize in the classroom, AI tools that they could utilize that would enhance teaching and learning and would enhance learning outcomes. When you do that, and now we're on our 3rd year of those grants, and they're in the area of humanities and mathematics, and they're in engineering and in healthcare and marketing and in business, not just in the computer science silo. Now when you do that, you're really driving that impact, and you're really driving that excellence in education, which is at the forefront of what we do every single day.
Yeah. Let's talk about speed. Usually when our friends in Silicon Valley or in the tech world in general think about higher ed, they want to work with higher ed, but a lot of times they think it moves slow. There's like annual cycles, biannual cycles, multi-year, decade cycles, but you all move fast. You all move lightning fast, and there's a lot of schools that recognize that they have to modernize to prepare our future leaders of the world, because AI is making deployments weekly. How does Miami-Dade move fast, and how are you working with your team to try things that may or may not work to help improve the organization and to in student lives?
One of the things, Rubén, if you think about the academy and you think about higher education in the United States, we are 20th century institutions and models trying to deliver on 21st century talent, right? So there is tensions in there. And I think that leaders in our institutions today have to be innovators and have to be able to be strategic thinkers, and then drive that kind of transformational change within our organizations. And I always believe it takes a lot of courage, some crazy, and then a lot of execution on having, aligning the strategic priorities and the strategic values and your strategic dollars to the impact that you want to have and the impact that is necessary to carry out the mission. And I believe it's upon leaders today to have that kind of impact, to see that foresight, to build partnerships. I think that you can't do it by yourself. You have to have partners, and you're going to have partners that are industry partners that help you drive those curriculum changes. You're going to have tech partners that help you advance impact and in technology and in platforms. You're going to have thought partners like you have been with Miami-Dade College, Outrival and Miami-Dade College. We've been thought leaders in the work, right? And we drove that impact through a technology platform. But it started with thought leadership.
Yeah.
Right? And I think you need to strengthen the ecosystem. And I would say to the folks in Silicon Valley, you have to come in and be ready to be good partners and thoughtful partners. Because I think if we do that, then you see the kind of impact we've had in working together. It's because you didn't expect the quick fix. It's you really came in with, you have this set of tools, we have this set of knowledge. If those two get combined,
Yeah.
we can be really powerful.
Yeah.
And that's what we set out to do.
Yeah. It's like cooking. It's like, hey, we have the ingredients. We're opening up a restaurant. What kind of dishes do we want to make? So I think that's. Thank you also for creating the environment and seeing the potential and being our partner through this. I think building on this notion of kind of moving fast and speed. When it comes to Outrival, always we'll usually tell our customers hey, do a pilot or do an experiment. I'm curious if you're able to share experiments, whether it's in a classroom, whether it's on operations or things, experiments that your team has tried. Maybe share some that worked or didn't work. I'm curious just to hear some of those examples, so then others can get inspiration from that. Because from our relationships with our partners, it does take a level of a level of risk to even experiment and be a thought leader on a new technology. So I'm curious from your standpoint, are there some experiments that you're able to share that your team has done?
So it'll surprise you a little bit. I'm not a pilot person. I think that you can spend just as much time in a pilot than you can working at scale. So why not work at scale?
True.
Right? Because you're going to bring in the same human capital, and you've got the technology capital. And today, with machine learning and AI and technology platforms, if you're trying to do something for 100 students, why wouldn't you go at 1,000? And for us, it's 100,000.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're not going to show up to the meeting to pilot something with less human capital. You've got what you have, right? So imagine asking our team, only do for this little part, even though we have to get there. So I'm not someone who says, let's just pilot and pilot, because you can enter into initiative fatigue.
Yeah.
And if you as a leader keep piloting, a pilot is an initiative. Going at scale is a transformation.
Yep.
So if you lead a transformation, you're going to put in as much time that you do in that initiative into transformation.
Yep.
And therefore, you're going to see transformative outcomes. And I think that's where you probably want to put your human capital as well as your fiscal capital, right? Because this is a game of capital. You're kind of appropriating capital. Your fiscal capital, your human capital, your tech capital.
Time capital, social capital, all of that.
Right. And so then working at scale. So there have been, plenty of things we've done in that optimization. For example, our admissions application, we, had data that it took students potentially 45 minutes to complete. We, modified it. We looked at it. It's a 7-minute application today. Not for a group of students, but for anybody.
Yeah.
We've also built out, no one really wants to wake up in the morning and say, I'm going to go learn AI for non-credit.
Yeah.
You wake up and you want to learn something. So we've also done things to blur between the non-credit side of the house and the credit side of the house. And that is you can come in our Construction Trades Institute, go through a fiber optic training in 4 weeks, get hired at $25, $30 an hour, and you did that on the non-credit side of the house. But that time that you spent there can lead you into a project management academic program that then all of a sudden your salary can double and your work pathway completely changes. And so those are things when we think about the projects that we've done at the college to get us here.
Yeah.
And I'm
No,
sure
it's a great example.
But some didn't work, I'm sure.
I
but
love the point you made about just the sheer scale where like it has to be, any bet needs to be meaningful because it takes a lot of human capital and mind share to do it. And I also like the point you made about just certain things, like there might be 45 minutes today, but if you start digging deeper, the same application could be structured so it takes 7 minutes instead of 45, which actually has a direct impact on the students because now more students will likely to complete it. You also brought up the courses that have AI. Being in Miami, we know the mission is to serve the community. I think a lot of people today are wondering how do they foolproof their skills, they foolproof themselves and their families for the future. What advice do you have for them?
I would say a couple of things. One, we're in a knowledge economy. The global economy has come, right? You think about, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, we were talking about global economy, right?
Yeah.
And it's not. We're in a global economy. You buy anything from anywhere.
Yep.
You can work from here, from anywhere. So that global economy is here. I think we're in a knowledge economy and we're in a skills economy. So one of the things is continuing to level up. It's continuing to build skills. And you can do that in so many ways today. You can learn in many ways. It all depends what your choice for learning is. Learning can be a podcast. Learning can be a course. Learning can be an industry certification or credential. So, I believe you put together your professional learning plan and you think about how do you acquire different skills every day. And we see that in AI. I'm going to give you an example. We'll have a lot of people who come through this AI center. They already have a professional career, and they are here to upskill. They're taking ethics in AI. They're taking data privacy in AI. They're understanding what fuels AI, and then they're learning how AI innovation can happen in maybe their career pathway in their business. You have students that come to us and they might be an education major, psychology, nursing major. They're also understanding, they've got to know the AI aspect of it. If you can learn this and it's going to enhance patient outcomes, then you're a better nurse. If you can learn these tools to be a better teacher, then you're a more effective teacher. And I think then the third are those that are maybe in computer science and math, and they really want to get in there and build the next app. They want to code the next thing. They're in our robotics. They're hanging out in this AI center lots of times, right? They're really solving and trying to solve and code. And I think for us, we have to be able to deliver for all three in the ecosystem and create opportunities for all three. And I would just say that that's part of us delivering that, and then you having a desire to keep upskilling. And then if you lead a business, how do you make sure you're providing the time for your talent to get more talented and to be able to get more skilled in a skilled workforce?
On that thread, a lot of people don't really know what AI agents are, right? They know there's chatbots, there's copilots, there's ChatGPT, there's Claude. For the students that want to be employed, for staff that hasn't started playing with AI agents or digital workers, can you explain what they are from your perspective and how people should be thinking about using them in their day-to-day life?
Yep, and I'll do it two-part. I think that one of the things that we have approached at Miami-Dade College is defining digital workers versus AI agents.
Okay.
Digital workers, to me, at the college, need to have an organizational chart, hierarchy, data, and be in the organization. So if our team wants to build out a digital worker because they've got skills that they maybe learned over here, I want them to be able to give a digital worker an identity at the college.
Yep.
That means that they're in an organizational chart. So that when Rubén leaves, if he's deployed 80% of his work to his digital worker, we don't end up losing too.
Yeah.
Right? So I think that organizations, as they are looking at the implementation of AI, are you deploying a digital worker? And so I like to say that I think our digital workers tend to be a part of our internal workforce.
Yep. Yep.
And so there's a hierarchy of data privacy and everything that happens. Not to say that doesn't happen on an AI agent, but an AI agent may be the way that we work with a partner, in which we know this is an agent developed in partnership with a partner, with a technology partner. And so then we know that too, because you've got to build out this workforce. And the workforce is going to be your human workforce, and then you're going to have your digital workforce, and then you're going to have your technology workforce. The technology workforce isn't any different than when you were building out, going from analog to digital, when you were going from card catalogs in the library to digital catalogs, when you brought in the internet. Right? We've seen this when we brought in emails. Those are all agents. Back then, it was you were bringing in the internet, right? And that was like this really big agent. And so I think looking at that and then building the institutional infrastructure and guidance and cadence and policy helps for organizations thinking about how their workforce changes and expands with it being powered through technology and AI platforms. On a personal level, I think that one thing that we've seen from small business leaders that we've done so much training with is understanding the data, understanding your data privacy, understanding what you're putting into it, and then understanding how it's powered.
Yeah.
And certainly becoming, if you want to use it highly effective, it's how are you prompting it? Who are you asking it to be? What persona are you giving it? And I would say for leaders, carving out time. Like you can't go to the gym and have a six-pack without working on your abs.
Hey, facts.
And as a leader, you have to spend that same time, the same time that you spend in the gym working on cardio or body, you've got to spend that time on higher order thinking. For me, that's an hour a day of really spending time on higher order thinking that I'm not necessarily going to get from the operational day to day. And then coming in and saying, how do I work with a team to have them work on that higher order thinking, to challenge themselves and their thinking, challenge themselves in the way that we do business, and challenge themselves in a way that we can be transformative in the way we serve our students.
Yeah. No, I love that breakdown from the digital work and the org chart versus the agent versus co-pilots. A lot of times when people think about these workers or agents or chatbots, it's in a reactive form, right? You're a leader, we're all leaders here, and we serve students and people. How do you think about the difference between reactive and proactive nature of using these technologies to serve in a hybrid way with agents and humans?
I really think it's a combination. You're always going to be reacting to an environment, right? A student, let's just take it in the academic setting. We have an early alert system. So we know a student didn't come to class.
Yep.
proactively, we would have known the student wasn't going to come to class. The reactive data tells us they didn't come to class. So how then are we proactive in getting the behavior to change and pivot so that the outcome is successful? And that means that you're not looking at autopsy data at the end of a term, or you're not looking at a student who withdrew because you did react in a way that was strategic to a piece of data that you received, which might have been they missed class, they didn't do so well on a test. So I want to say that there's no way that you're not going to be reacting sometimes to information that you get. What I believe the proactive work comes in is threefold. One is that you're gathering data, and today the data analysis is much faster because of the power of AI. So if you can start to predict where you need earlier interventions, you may help a student stay on course and persist much faster in a more effective way, if you will. The second is, how do we take a look at authentic assessments? How do we know a student's learned? If the environment is changing and we're still kind of thinking backward in our testing and our assessing, how do you assess then for knowledge? Look, I think it's just Harvard who went out and they voted they're not going to give so many A's, but they're going to give this many of A minuses. And students can never use any AI information for any assignment. I don't really know how you're going to police that.
Yeah.
How exactly do you think you'll police that? I think you have to be able to proactively think about students have these tools. How are you going to help them harness the power of those tools to understand knowledge, to be able to think critically, to be able to apply it? And I think that in the teaching and learning space is a way that we can be proactive and not as a reactive. And then the third, on the operational side of the house, we should always be asking ourselves, what problems are we trying to solve for? Why do they exist? How do we solve for them? And what is the best way? Oftentimes, you might have mid-level managers tell you that the only way to solve for them is more people. And that's because the operational structure is very human dependent. But there probably is a solution to be able to have humans do much more high impact work in the classroom and in our learning resource centers and in our innovation centers, and let technology solve for some of those things that can be done with a student at their own time, maybe when they got home from work, and things that students we know they access our platforms 24/7. How do we make sure they get the same support 24/7? It doesn't mean setting up 24/7 humans, right? And I think that building that out allows you to have a good tension of responding and reacting to issues that arrive and solving for problems, but being really proactive in the way you're keeping students centered in the decision making on providing that service to them.
Well, one more point there. I think in general, when we think about schools, and you're looking at data, life happens sometimes to a student. Maybe they got displaced by a hurricane. Maybe something happened in their personal life with a family member and they weren't able to go to school. Are there proactive measures that you've seen, obviously with humans with stop outs, but is there things that can be done with agents in that regard that you've seen that work?
So I think there's a few things. One, we've really moved into a series of mini terms within a semester. So that means if a student started out in the 16-week term and life got in the way, and you're able to get that data, you can deploy a digital worker to say, hey, we realized that this course is not going so well in this 16 weeks. Do you know there's one coming up right now starting in 2 weeks? And that digital worker can help a student kind of think through that. So those kinds of prompt questions that lead them then to say, you know what, I'm going to re-enroll in the 10-week course. I'm going to re-enroll in the second 8 weeks course because this happened, but I think I can have this resolved. And we found with, you know, our work with you all at Outrival is that students engaged a bit longer on conversations with the digital workforce than they did with humans.
It's interesting.
I'll leave that there.
Yeah.
And I think I want to say it's because our team really made sure that empathy was throughout the student experience, that a student knows that they may be now in a conversation with an agent.
Yeah.
So first they know that.
Yeah.
So let's be truthful and build trust.
Yeah.
But then that human intel, that cognitive knowledge of our team that I think they're amazing at, made sure that the agents that you were creating with us had empathy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the student, now they know it's transparent and trusting. There's empathy. That means patience in the questions that are being asked, and then helping them navigate a technology platform that they might have said, well, I'll check back tomorrow, or I'll go navigate the website by myself. Now there was someone that was there to say, do you want us to help you? Yes. Okay, so now you have that help.
Yeah. And we've talked about your leadership at Miami Dade, at the college, but you're also a figure in South Florida. Can you talk about your position, your thought about South Florida, the future of South Florida? Obviously, we moved here from Silicon Valley like 5 years ago. We met you, I think, 2018, and we've seen not only South Florida rise, but you rise, and I see your connection to the ecosystem. What do you think is going to happen with Miami in general? From an AI leadership perspective, obviously the breakthroughs are going to still come out over there. Why is South Florida important?
You know, I'm excited about this time in our city. I was born and raised here in the 305. I grew up in Hialeah. For a long time, you always felt Miami was arriving, and people would come and go, and they'd say, "Yeah, they're just they'll get there." And we're a young city. We're, 128 years old. We're not 250. I can't imagine who we're going to be at 250. Because I think that we have some of the things that make Miami special are the people. Yeah. The grit, the resilience. Everyone in Miami comes from somewhere else, but at the same time, Miami makes you feel home. If you were born and raised here, or if you're here spending time with somebody that made Miami home 5 years ago, there's not like, we'll see how you are. We're like, come on over. Come sit and have a cafecito with us. Invite you to the next thing we're doing, the next get together. No one is like trying to read you for years. I think that Miami has a welcoming spirit, and it's the spirit of Miami, probably because it was founded by a woman who, said to Henry Flagler, you got to bring the train down here. It's proximity to everywhere, to the Americas. And I think that Miami will continue. It's not a moment. It's not a momentum. It's Miami. Yeah. And will continue to drive the kind of impact that we're seeing, businesses coming in. And I've said, one of the things that can slow Miami from being the world-class city that it is, we have the art and we have the culture, and we have the education institutions. We've got the companies, we have more companies coming in, that we have to make sure we have the talent, that no one feels that they don't have the human capital, right? That we have the venture capital, and we've, certainly have to address for some of the things. I'm the chair of the Chamber of Commerce, and, the priorities for the chamber are those that we hear from everyone: transportation, housing, and talent and innovation and resiliency, right? Those are the priorities of the chamber. And the fact that the chamber has those priorities, and if you go to the Beacon Council, they're
Yeah.
aligned to it, and our education institutions are aligned to it, you see that that's what builds a strong ecosystem, and I think Miami will continue building and continue rising, and I'm excited. I'm excited for what's to come, and I'm happy that I get to contribute just a little bit to our success, and that Miami-Dade College has the impact that it has on our community.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And I want to also say that, like, since Rubén and I moved to Miami, the city welcomed us with open arms. And I know a big focus for Miami-Dade is like workforce development. And I'm just proud that we're hiring people in Miami, and we obviously want to hire people out of Miami-Dade College and other local institutions. So this is kind of like a plug where, like, we're serious about contributing to the city. And I also want to say that, like, it's been great having this space here. I think a lot of folks may not know that when Rubén and I were announcing Outrival, we actually did it at the AI Center here at one of the meetups that your team provided for for the weekly meetup. Shout out to ChatGPT Wednesdays by Grant.
Right.
Tuesdays
Deep
Right.
State
by Grant.
Yeah.
I would walk out and I just would come over and
Yeah.
see, and everyone was here, and Antonio and
Yeah.
Pedro and George
And
and
we sponsored
and
a hackathon
Manny.
here too, right?
You
Wasn't,
did.
Yeah. Sergey, Google co-founder,
Correct.
was here?
We were
Yeah.
out here, did
That was
the hackathon and everything. So I do think it's about creating
Yeah.
that community. And then what we hope is that that connects you to talent, that you have the trust in us and the belief in our students that when you're looking for talent, we're here to provide it.
Awesome. Before going into the rapid fire round, what do you think is the future of higher education? Is it an AI agent with every employee, every student, or obviously there might be something after AI, who knows? But what's your thoughts on the future of higher ed?
Look, I'm optimistic. There's some people, when the MOOCs came out, they said that's it, higher education was over. People like people.
Yeah.
Humans like to connect. There's another value of education that happens, the value of connection, the value of thinking in a way that you have a different thought than I do, but together we can make magic happen. That stuff happens in education and higher education institutions throughout. And we probably need that as a nation, that we continue to do research and innovation. And it doesn't mean it doesn't happen in the private sector. Of course it does. But it happens in our universities also. I think that the future, it's personalized. What it's not is cookie cutter. It's not going to look like a cookie cutter approach. It is already evolving that way. You're going to acquire knowledge in different ways. You're going to see much more, I think, of applied knowledge so that you can gain the 3 core skills: foundational knowledge that leads to higher order critical thinking, which is incredibly important. Look, one of the things, the best thing we can do is make sure every 3rd grader reads on 3rd grade reading level.
There you go.
And that every 5th grader, computes at, math analysis at 5th grade. We got to build those strong pathways into systems thinking, into people thinking, so that we can produce highly effective teachers and nurses and doctors and engineers. And then our focus on the trades. We've got 25 plus apprenticeship programs. And so that's a way that I see higher education also evolving, is our apprenticeship programs. Earning and learning while you're at Miami-Dade College is not a pilot. It is in every single one of our pathways.
Yeah.
Whichever pathway you're going, there's an opportunity for you to earn and learn, whether you're a CNA going an LPN or RN. And I think that's the future. It's stackable. It's got multiple entry and exit points. We're seeing that now with Workforce Pell. The fact that, Pell Grants, which were traditionally just only in terms of those degree pathways, now we're seeing Workforce Pell happen in the trades. And so our Construction Trades Institute, where our welders and commercial truck drivers are at, they're going to be able to access some of those dollars that they're able to get that training. So I think it's evolving in a very innovative way, and it's going to be driven by industry. What kind of workforce you need is going to dictate a lot about what happens in higher education. I'm just glad we're the communities college and we're the workforce engine, because that's where our programs are aligned, is to produce that talent.
Did you hear that bar that she just did? We're the communities college. That was smooth. That's very nice. I like that. And I like the earn and learn piece, because if you're a student, you're trying to figure out where you want to work. You want to figure out you want to make sure that you're learning and you're earning. So let's get into rapid fire round.
Yeah. So at this portion of our podcast, we do the rapid fire. So you could either provide short answers or one word answers. The first question, it's a bit of a doozy. You kind of alluded to it, but I'll just ask it anyways. So we get into conversations with various higher ed leaders, and the topic of using like ChatGPT to write essays comes up by students. I'm curious, from your standpoint, is writing an essay with ChatGPT, is it cheating, or is it student being creative with using the tools?
What's the assessment? Right? I think that if we're thinking about authentic assessments, and we're thinking about how we're going to assess that, if that's 1% of your grade, have fun. But if you can't get up and apply that knowledge, speak to it, be a student of your trade, and you didn't acquire the knowledge, okay, you got the 1 point. But if the goal is 100 points, I think that's not going to be enough.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. And so what's the assignment? What's the assessment?
Great answer.
Yeah.
You talked a lot about creativity, collaboration. What does President Pumariega do to get in her zone? What gets you creative? Is it music? Is it exercise? What is it?
It's both. It's music and exercise, and if they're both combined, it's a good zone for me to be at. I try to put 10,000 steps in a day, and I try to make those steps with some music is good. So for me, music is a place that just, I think it almost quiets the brain, that's going rapid.
Is it quiet music, or like what are you listening to?
No, I listen to everything from like Pitbull to country.
There you go.
To some Bad Bunny.
Nice.
Love it.
Yeah. So this question also comes up a lot, more of an objection, where a lot of folks have kind of misconceptions whether like the young adults actually answer their phone when they're receiving a call. So I don't know how familiar you are with kind of the kind of operations of things, but do young adults answer the phone when someone calls them?
No. They text you, what's up?
Yeah, so you got to meet students where they are.
I have a 22-year-old, my daughter. If you call, she's like, "What's up?" I think that's for a lot of us, and partly, you think something dying the telephone in terms of spam calls, right? Like you just really don't know. But I think no, they don't answer the phone. They like text and forget emails. But it's like if you get 10% read email, that's a high percentage.
Yeah. And so figuring out how to contact people with different approaches is a challenge, and you figured it out.
But it's personal, right? It's got to be personal.
Yeah, and the future's personal, like you said.
Yeah.
You talked about relationships as well, and we move at the speed of our relationships. Can you talk about how you met Saif? So I want to give a shout out to Saif for actually making this interview happen and actually introducing us a long time ago. So how'd you meet Saif? Tell us about Lab 22C and all of that.
So Saif is my brother. Probably back Tech Fight. I knew Saif already when him and Jose Antonio came. I was campus president here. It was probably 2010, 2011, and we wanted to collaborate on something called Tech Fight, which is all about technology. It's this could have been happening then. It was this. It was setting the vision and the stage exactly for this. And I think we have been, we were friends even before that, because Saif was the founding executive director for a program called City Year that we launched together at Miami Dade College.
Awesome.
That was transforming lives in our high schools. And that's, Saif and I worked on that even, I think we've been friends, 25 years. And it is something special to be able to grow professionally with folks that you know and are friends. And from, being a dean when I met him, to a campus president, to seeing that I left as the chancellor, to coming back and then seeing Saif leave City Year, and then to now, being a founder of Lab 22C, and then the work and the innovation, and to do it in the kind of friendship and spirit that we have. So he's a brother, but most importantly, I think he's like a really good thought partner.
Yeah.
And friends elevate friends.
Yeah.
And when you do that, there's a special place in heaven for you when you look at who you can elevate and bring up with you. And Saif, not only being the chief connector, he is Mr. Community.
He really is.
Oh, yeah.
He is like the 3 C's, he's a chief, he's a connector, and he is community.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a good almost ending of the conversation. What final pieces of advice do you have for leaders that are inspired by everything that you shared today? What should they be doing if they want to, get some impact like what you all are doing?
Focus on your why. Every day I focus on my why. My why is students. It's why I do the work that I do. And so I want 100% of our students to be successful. I want 100% of our students to achieve the goal that they set out to do. And I'm relentless in the pursuit to believe that 100% of our students can achieve their highest potential. And my job every day is to make sure that we remove the barriers or any points of friction that block that student from getting where they want to get to. So I would just say focus on students, focus on your why, and focus on success.
Awesome. Well, thank you all, everybody. This was our interview with President Pumariega, and this is The New Normal.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.